Did you know that the Bible is the best-selling book of all time? And Peter, I have a question for you. If the Bible is the most successful and best-selling book of all time, and we have a big Bible right here, how come the Bible is not taught in schools today? More Bibles have been printed, more Bibles have been sold than any other book, any other textbook. At Harvard University, when it was founded, the main teaching book was the Bible. If you go to Harvard University today, they are not teaching the Bible unless you're part of the seminary. Why is the Bible not being taught in school today if it's such a bestseller?
It would be great to see more Bible being taught, but then would we really want public government officials to be in charge of teaching religion to children? I think that's where we run into a problem in our democratic societies. You know, people like to have freedom of religion, and a big part of that is not having the government teaching your kids what they're supposed to believe.
Not too many years ago, I mean, several decades ago, prayer was allowed in public schools in the United States. Today, you can't pray in a public school in the United States because it violates possibly the other students' religious beliefs. So it's banned in American schools. Does that mean America is no longer a Christian nation, or is the United States a Christian nation? I know as far as Europe goes, it's really moved away from Christianity. There are far fewer Christians in Europe today. If you go there and talk to people, it's hard to find Christians that are professing Christians. The church population has dropped so low. In our schools, it used to be that you could pray in schools, you could read your Bible in schools, you could bring a Bible to school, and now you can't. Is that because there are no longer Christian teachers in those schools, and therefore, as you said, we don't trust those teachers to teach our children the Bible because maybe they will teach it the wrong way? I guess, could we say that, on our bills, on our dollar bills, it says, "In God we trust." Do we still trust in God, or are we moving away from that? In the courtroom today, if you used to put your hand on the Bible and swear to tell the truth, nothing but the truth, and in the many courtrooms, you don't put your hand on the Bible anymore. Are we a Christian? Do you think the United States is moving away from being a Christian nation?
I think, of course, most people are Christians in the United States, so going by that, you could say, yes, this is a Christian nation.
At least they say they will profess to be a Christian.
Sure. Of course, from the foundation, the United States was not founded on Christian principles necessarily. They were founded on some very clever, very well thought out humanistic ideas with some Christian influence and influence from ancient Rome and ancient Athens, So do you think there was a point when the United States could be called a Christian nation at the level of its governance or of its population?
Well, I think if you go before the creation of the United States, when North America was just British colonies or Dutch colonies, New Amsterdam, before it was New York, and the Pilgrims landing, certainly they landed because they wanted religious freedom. The settlers from Europe and from England, they came for religious freedom. They were very religious, and you might say very Christian. So over the next 200 years, and then the creation of the United States, I think you're right. It was always moving away from that very fundamental Christian foundation.
So there was a founding moment when when the colonies were based on Christian principles.
Right, pre-USA, really. So, but I think my entire life, we always felt, my generation feels that the United States was a Christian country, and that most of the people, of course, we live in an area where that is very Christian. There's a church building almost on every corner. The people here consider themselves to be Christians, but I think the attitude and the belief system in the United States continues to move away from Christianity. At what point do we no longer call ourselves a Christian nation? That's a big question. Certainly in the court system and everything now, they don't look to the Bible. They look at the laws that have been written all through civilization since the Ten Commandments were given, or the law in the book of Leviticus and Deuteronomy. And now we're not supposed to even refer to the Bible. It's all these man-made laws. Who's writing the laws today, and how have we moved that far away from the Bible?
Yeah, well, it happens over time. Of course, going back to the New Testament, they were moving away from the Mosaic laws, and Jesus gave them some new laws, and then they had to figure out, how they were going to handle all of that. We can read all about it in the book of Acts and the epistles, how they, moved on from the old laws into new laws, and kind of decided what you had to do or profess in order to be a Christian.
I have a personal question that I want to ask you, and I don't know if you're going to be able to answer it here to the satisfaction of our viewers. But you have 3 children, school-age children, and I know you love them very much. Would you consider, getting back to the point of whether this country, the United States, is a Christian nation or not, and our whole public school system, which does have some big flaws, and a lot of parents prefer to not send their children to public school, would you consider sending your children to a public school? I know that's a loaded question because I happen to know that you homeschool your children. Would you consider sending them into the public school system here? And if you would, why? And if you would not, why not?
Well, we would consider it for sure. There's a lot of advantages to public school. They are, in many situations, they're well funded with good administration, good teachers. That your kids are going to learn there. They're going to have good social interactions with others. Sure, there's benefits to a public school system. The reason to homeschool, I think, is if you can, then, well, hey, you can give your children so much more attention, so much more time. You can really have a focus that's just on them. Instead of one teacher with a class of 24, 30 students, it's a couple of students with their mother or father, and there is just so much advantage to that. And the fact that we have Christian teaching, Bible teaching every day, and that's just a big part of our lives. And I see our children growing up with that and manifesting their own faith, not just the faith of mom and dad, but having their own ideas, their own interpretation on things, and showing faith in their own ways. And that's something that they would not get as much of in a public school, even if it was a Christian school. There's definitely big advantages to doing things at home.
So we'd like to know what you think about the subject of whether the United States, whether we are living, if we are a Christian nation still, or are we moving away from Christianity? Do you put your children in a public school system, or do you homeschool them or have them in a Christian school? What are your thoughts on this subject? Please leave your comments below, and thank you if you haven't already subscribed to our channel. Thanks for doing that. Thank you for watching.